Hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Feral Brand Method podcast. Hope you guys are diving into your goals into January of 2026. This is the year that we are going to fucking level up. Like, I can feel it. I have so many good things happening, not only for this brand, but my other brand, and just elevating the shit out of my business. So, yeah, very exciting. So, I don't do the whole New Year's resolution thing because I felt that every single time I did that, I never accomplished anything. So, what I've done ever since that and for years down the line is I create a plan and I create a goal that I'm going to accomplish in 90 days. Usually it's just one. And I set an action plan and just small things to do every single day to get to that goal. So that seems to help out and work out for me even better. So every 90 days, I have a different goal that I'm going to work on. And then in December, I reflect on everything that I accomplished and just get ready for the next year. And usually I start reflecting like in October to work on the next year's stuff. So I start early because in that process, I start doing the winter arc in October, which is fantastic. It gives you that last push for that last 3 months. And I accomplished so much during that. Usually I tailor the winter arc to, my fitness journey, which the fitness journey has been up and down for the last 10 years. And now it's a fucking lifestyle for me. Like, I am in better shape now in my late 40s than I was in my 30s, hands down. So yeah, so lots of great things coming down the pipeline. I am getting ready to launch a new coaching program for this brand, help other women who have small personal brands and small businesses really elevate themselves in their content on TikTok. So make sure you check out the show notes for links to that. And make sure you subscribe to the podcast and follow me on TikTok because I give you some awesome information and just some real shit that you need to know. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about why you're not consistent. You are self-protecting. So you're not inconsistent. You're self-protecting yourself. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. So when you're not consistent, that means you're protecting yourself in a way you used to when you were a child. Now, I'm looping this all in because your inner child wounds has a lot to do with how you show up in your content. So when you're creating content, how you show up, usually because you're afraid or you think you're too much or people criticize you, it has a lot to do with your childhood, quite honestly. How do I know this? Because I've lived it. My content has reflected that, and it has made me less money when I let my inner child run my fucking brand. So when I stopped letting her run the show and I actually took charge and gave her a job, that's when I really started to make money. That's when I really started to elevate. That's when I really said yes, in creating that emotional safety and the healthy patterns so that when I get on TikTok and I post that shit, it comes from a confident place and it comes from a very healed place. And that's what I teach other women to do. So we're going to be talking about the shame loop. We're going to be talking about why discipline advice fails. Yes, we're going to be talking about that. And we're also going to be talking about regulation versus force and having consistency in your brand when it comes to your content. Okay, so let's talk about the shame loop. This is a big one. Okay, I could tell you from childhood, there was a lot of things that I was shamed for. I was shamed for not, being the best that I can be. I felt shame when, I would get like a B instead of an A. I was shamed when, hey, you're not supposed to say this. You're supposed to act this way. You're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to be this and that. So there's a shame loop where you feel like you're not enough. You feel like you were criticized, you were judged because of maybe you had a passion about something, you had a desire to do something because that's what you wanted to do in life as a child, or you had, let's say, for example, you have a passion for action figures, okay? You have a passion to draw. You have a passion for music. You have a passion to craft, and people would judge you and shame you, or even the adults that were responsible, your caretakers, they would shame you over that stuff. Okay. So you continue that shame loop Because when it comes to creating content, especially TikTok, because I know TikTok, I know it's rough out there, guys, but you have to have that tough skin and not give a fuck about when anybody thinks, because that's how you're going to be successful. The most successful creators that I see out there, they don't give a fuck about what anybody says. Okay. They take the criticism with a grain of salt and like, oh, okay. Because people are going to criticize you, whether it's a cat video or a dog video, or if you're talking about relationships. People are always going to have something to say. Now, where women get stuck in their personal brands is they shame themselves, or they feel shame when people unfollow, when people say negative things in the comment section, or they say, well, you're not relatable. How can you talk about this? And then you repeat that same pattern with the shame loop, because that is what you've known since childhood. That's why I stress that the inner child work is so fucking important. It is super important, because that is going to reflect in your social media content. And that is what is going to make you not make money, elevate your brand, scale your brand if you want. Okay. And this is where a lot of small business owners that are women, they want to elevate the masses because they want to set themselves apart from these big brands and these big corporations. Okay. So the shame loop, very, very telling. And you can tell there are creators that you can either see on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, that, they will get on there and say, oh, this and that, and they feel shame because of this video. Now, if you are attacking people on your video, okay, I would say, yeah, you shouldn't do that. Okay. But they will personally, publicly shame themselves. Why? Because you had a different take on something and people didn't like it. Well, not everybody's going to like you. Okay. What the whole message is that you resonate, that people will resonate with your content, you build connection, you build authority, and that you solve their pain points and their problems with one simple solution. Okay. So the shame loop is very, very telling. And when you do not work on those inner child wounds, it is going to reflect in your brand and in your content. Now, why discipline advice fails? I can't tell you how many times as a child, as a teenager, as an adult about, oh, well, you need to be disciplined. This is the advice on how disciplined and how PC you need to be in your content, and what you shouldn't say in your video, and what you shouldn't talk about. And why are you talking about this? Because it's too personal. People relate to personal stories. People relate to things that have happened to you, and as that was the stepping stone to get to where you are, because it creates hope, it creates connection. It says, hey, if she did it, I can do it too. Okay. So when people say you have to be disciplined, you have to be PC, don't piss people off, don't say this, don't reveal things about your personal life. Listen, I'm not telling you to go share your address or anything like that on social media. You should absolutely not do that, or where you live, or whatever. But the discipline advice fails because people want you to fall into this box where you're not a little bit polarizing or a little bit triggering, that will trigger a response out of people like, shit, she gets me. She understands where I'm coming from and she could help me. Okay. They want you to fall in line like you're reading a fucking script. Okay. Like most of these influencers. Okay. They want you to do the same thing and mimic other people and copy other people and say, well, if that person can do this strategy, this will work for me. No, it fucking won't. Okay. You have to build your own strategy, your own way on how you create content to elevate your brand. Okay. Because your personal brand is yours. It's not somebody else's. Okay. So that discipline advice fails every single time because people are going to know when you're fake. People are going to know when you're not authentic. People are going to know when it's scripted. People are going to know if you just take a framework that somebody else created and you're trying to apply it to your own brand. People are going to know that. Okay. People are catching on to that. And it's very, very easy to tell. That's why you have to separate yourself from the masses. Now, the last point that I'm going to talk about is regulation versus force, and how you can create consistency in your brand. So when you are regulated, okay, when your nervous system is regulated, you come from a calm space. come from an emotionally safe space and a healed space. Content is just going to freely just be flowing freely out of you. Okay. You're going to see a video and you're like, I have this idea. And you're not going to give a fuck what anybody tells you. You're not going to give a fuck about what people think and what they have to say. Because if people have something negative to say, they're not your people. Okay? People who resonate with that, they're like, yes, she gets me. Those are the people that will buy. Those are the people that will elevate your brand. That's how you scale your brand and you use your content to do that. Okay? So when you use force, it's like, oh, well, I got to post today. Well, I have all these, content pieces that I have to do and I have to talk about this. I really don't want to talk about this. And your content feels forced. I know because I've been there. Like I could check all the videos and all my analytics on my TikTok page on one of my other brands. I know what works and what doesn't, because what didn't work is the stuff that was forced. But when I naturally spoke and I was just honest, to the point, and vulnerable, unscripted, like I was talking to somebody on a FaceTime call, that's what got me thousands of views, tens of thousands of views. Okay. And it's all about the views. It's not about followers, the views. Okay. So you don't have to force your content to make people follow you. People will follow you if they resonate with it and it resonates with them and they feel a sense of connection to you. That's how you gain the followers. Okay. When they connect to you, that's how they buy from you. So, and that's how you're able to elevate yourself in your content so that you can make more fuck you money, because that's what it's all about. It's like, let's make that fucking money so you can keep going and have that freedom and creativity to do other things, right? So don't force your content. Okay. Make sure that your content comes from a relatively just safe space, whether you're journaling, meditating, voice noting, therapy, whatever the case is, to deal with the inner child work that needs to be done. Somebody else cannot heal what you are responsible for. Let me say that again. Somebody else cannot heal your inner child wounds and the work you need to do. That's your responsibility. Okay. Not in business, not elevating your personal brand, not even in relationships. Okay. Excuse me. So you have to be consistent in your brand as well. Consistency is key. Fuck perfection. We want to be consistent. Okay. So you have to decide, okay, I'm going to post 3 times a week. I'm going to post daily. I'm going to post, Monday through Friday. I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday, whatever the case is. You have to decide what consistency looks like for you. And then you have to own that in your content. Like you have to show up for your people. You have to show up even if you don't feel like it. You have to show up because it is your brand that you're running. And if you want to make money, you are the person behind that, right? So consistency is always key. And that is one of the pieces that I struggled with, is to make sure that I was consistent in my business. But when I was consistent, that's how the money continued to roll in. And that's how I was like, this brand is exactly what I'm doing. And this is how I'm elevating it, because when I'm consistent, I'm putting out the content that resonates with people. I am the authority and I create connection. And sometimes I am polarizing. Sometimes I am a little bit triggering, but it gets the message across. So consistency is key. Do not let your inner child wounds and the inner child run your fucking brand, because what will happen is it'll be dead in the water. So the free audio series, it's a 3-part free audio series on how your inner child is running your brand. That's available to you in the show notes. So make sure you guys check that out. So go to the show notes, check that out. It's an audio series and you can listen to it on the go. So that is today's episode. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you follow on TikTok for all the good stuff that I go ahead and educate you on and talk about on how to really show up and own your brand in your TikTok content. So thank you so much for joining me in this episode, and I will chat with you in the next episode.